And we're live, streaming to you from the footsteps of New York City. We are Music Matters with Jason Tramm. We are a multi-platform podcast where we explore the innovations and self-discoveries made by distinguished artists in challenging times. So thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community. To see our over 250 past episodes, check out our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, that's www.jasontram with two M's.net. And thank you so much for joining us today. You can also check us out on our social media platforms. You can see us. You can see this show live on Facebook Live and also on YouTube. So, and if you're on YouTube, please remember to subscribe and smash that bell icon for the most updated and up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. We love it when you like and share our videos, and we'd love it also if you join in the conversation by asking questions and commenting in the chat. We love to see what's going on, and this is your chance to ask the guests questions. Our guest today is Molly Dunn, a lyric soprano who has a wonderful background. Now she's singing quite a lot of opera, but she has a background in musical theater, which is unconventional, and she's doing some great work. I can't wait to work with her. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be starting a La Boheme production with the Light Opera of New Jersey, where she's singing the role of Mimi. So welcome, Molly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So delighted you could join us today. I can't wait to work with you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, I'm so excited to start.
It's most exciting. It's one of the greatest roles in opera, I would say. I've conducted 25 operas now, and this is one of my favorites. And this role just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I get pretty excited every rehearsal. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do this on stage.
It's one of those roles where she's such a human. Like what I love about Bohème is there's such grandiose music and expression, but very simple, like actual real life events, a simple thing like the coat, or a simple thing like her embroidery, and you have these grand expression next to very simple little phrases, and I think it makes for such a beautiful character.
Yeah, I agree. And with the modern production we're putting on, especially, I'm excited to explore that, like how to sing in a grand way about the simple things in life. So I'm excited.
Well, one thing I know is that my friend Andrea Del Giudice, she's a fantastic director, also a great singer. So she never sacrifices the staging for the singing. It's equally as important. So that's where we get along great, because the singing is so important. And, while the staging, of course, is just as important, it's 50-50, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I've had the opportunity to do a few roles, but as you had mentioned, I came to opera later. I was doing musical theater first, and I do find in a lot of opera programs that maybe the directing is put on the side. We're just there to sing with orchestra. So I'm so excited to work with Andrea and get to dive into the characters, and I'm really hungry for it to dive in.
Well, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And did you come from a musical family? When did you first know you wanted to be an artist?
Oh my goodness. One of my first memories is seeing Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, and I remember having an ear infection, but I refused to leave the theater. I was holding on, crying because of my ear infection, but I was in heaven, and I loved the show, and I had to wait. I didn't want to leave, and ever since really that moment, I've always been singing. And my family, we have a lot of music educators in the family, cousins, aunts, uncles. I'm really probably the only one, though, who's taken a professional path with music.
Wonderful. Certainly in the DNA, if you've got music teachers in there and people who are inspiring the next generation, I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and as you know, I'm also a music educator. I have a performing arts school in Jersey City, so I am spending a lot of my time working with the youth of Jersey City, and I love that as well.
It's great I find as a teacher, I'm a teacher and a conductor, I love the fact that I perform and then bring that back to the classroom. The more you get on the stage, the more you have to teach, and it makes your teaching more rich.
I also feel like being a teacher has made me such a better performer, because I remember when I started teaching right out of high school. My voice teacher brought me on to sub for her and to work alongside with her and train with her. And it was almost like an apprenticeship for learning how to teach singing. It was amazing to learn next to her. And I learned very quickly that you always be making an example for young singers made me a better performer because I got out of my own way and I would have to do it the first time for kids or show them what confidence looks like or show them what song interpretation looks like. And it's made me a better performer for sure.
Fantastic. So, what was your first role in musical theater?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm trying to think. I got a few roles in high school. I got to sing Philia, and a funny thing happened on the way to the forum with my dark hair, even though she's blonde. And, I got to sing Sarah Brown in Guys and Dolls in high school. And then I did a little bit of like community theater in New Jersey. I sang Amalia and She Loves Me, which was so great. And what was amazing was Light Opera of New Jersey gave me one of my first gigs, which was singing Rosebud in The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which honestly to this day is probably my favorite musical I've done. It is so fun. The first 10 minutes are improvised in the audience, which is like so fun. And I got to sing even at that time before I knew I'd switched to opera. I got to sing in a real, my full voice and opted up for a high C in the last song. I had a blast.
It's an unusual switch going from musical theater, like serious musical theater, and then to opera, isn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy. I felt, I feel like, I'm not very religious or anything, but I feel like I've always kind of been guided into the right rooms with the right teachers. And I always worked with opera singers, which is very common in New York to study, even if you're a musical theater performer with opera singers. And my teachers would always say, man, your voice is growing, your voice is growing. You could do opera. And I just was so overwhelmed by the whole thing. I was like, how would I even start that? I don't have a degree in this. I'm behind in diction. I'm behind in the languages. I'm behind in history. I my whole life was devoted to musical theater, so I I didn't really understand how to make the switch. And I think a pivotal moment for me was I got into the Lotta Lenya competition in 2018. And there's a video of me singing Ain't It a Pretty Night, like half of it straight toned, okay, on YouTube from the competition. And and that was only 4 years ago. And the judges who are a few of them were like Ted Sperling and Rob Berman, who are like the biggest musical theater conductors, music directors in the city. One of them said to me, "Oh, it's amazing how you can belt and sing musical theater considering you're an opera singer." And
Oh, wow.
it was that moment that I was like, I think the only thing holding me back is my own fear. And, if I could, and also getting to a professional level musical theater took me a long time. I was a late bloomer, and I didn't book work till like years after getting out of school. And I was like, if I can do it in musical theater, I can do it in opera, like on my own timeline. And I just love getting to use my full instrument. And I just felt like in musical theater, I wasn't able to do that.
Well, it was a lot of fun watching you come in for the auditions, and some of the members of the company remember very clearly, and they really loved the way you did the musical theater, and you sang the Edwin Drood,
Yeah.
and then you opened your mouth and you sang "Ain't It a Pretty Night," and it was just glorious, and everything worked. It was in the right place. It was it was a very critical jury. I mean, myself and Andrea were very we're very picky people, but we both loved it, and it was exciting to watch it come out. And it's just great to hear you to come in there. And I can't wait to see what it sounds like in Bohème. Your voice is really perfect for that role.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I feel like Puccini has been like a gateway to opera for me. I've just fallen in love with the like big lyrical lines. Like that's sort of what I like to do in musical theater. So when I was able to do that, when I started singing opera, I was like, oh yeah, I just want to sing a lot of Puccini.
Any advice to people who might be making this change or thinking about this change, and how important it is to have the right teacher to guide you through it?
I think so. And I think a lot of people study opera and end up doing musical theater professionally. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with what you're born with. Like it was so clear as I kept, every year that my voice was could be an operatic voice, and some people, especially like lighter sopranos, they're finding a lot more success in musical theater, like with A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, Light in the Piazza. Like my voice is kind of too, I'd have to lighten it up for that kind of thing now. So I guess if I have any advice, like for anyone in any careers, like don't wait for permission and decide it for yourself, and keep showing up and studying, and yeah, just don't wait for permission. I was waiting for, even in musical theater, I was always waiting for someone to say, check, you're good enough. And the second I gave up on that, I started booking work. Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of times the barriers are our own barriers. I find that in my work too is like, I always feel like I only do the classical, and then I started doing a lot of pops work, and I really enjoy both of them. And it's you don't have to decide one way or the other. You sometimes you're able to do it both and find your own unique way.
Yeah, a lot of people do look at me cross-eyed though, and they're like, why would you, because a lot of people who went to school for opera find it maybe stifling or in a box. And for me, it feels like the fullest expression of my singing. So I don't know how to answer that, because I'm like, I don't feel in a box. I feel so complete when I get to sing this way. And perform in these like grand gestures. I love it. And I have so much to learn still, and I love being a student of music. Like I'll never stop learning, and I feel like I've only just started.
I'm 47 and I'm working on a Brahms symphony that I'm doing at the beginning of March, and it's one I haven't done, Symphony Number 3, and man, it's kicking my butt, and I can't wait to get in front of the orchestra, and I've got a timeline, I got to be up there, and it's just never ends. I mean, as music is a limitless career. I tell my son, who's a 17-year-old drummer, and I'm like, there's just limitless things you can do with your musical training, and it can take you to some amazing places.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, you did some roles in some different countries. Tell us about the programs you've done. I see Vienna. I see Mexico.
Yeah. Well, when I made the decision to like really commit to, in about 2018, to commit to opera auditions, I knew that the professional field of opera is really different from musical theater. In opera, you kind of do these like pay to sing programs until you can get into the ones that you don't pay for, and then you can get into the ones that pay you. And a lot of them have age limits and all these things that like just don't exist in musical theater. So I knew switching over that I was just going to have to accept the industry for what it was if I wanted to make headway. So I did a few of those like pay to sing programs, and I'm really grateful. I sang my first role was Suor Angelica in Vienna, which
That's a great role. I mean, I love Connecting Suor.
It was crazy because someone said to me when I mentioned that I was going to do that, well, sometimes we learn like when we crash and burn. And I was like, because they thought I was crazy for taking Puccini on as my first role. But I was like, I had the most fun singing it. And yeah, I look back now and I probably was straight toning half of it. But I love it. And I might have the opportunity to sing it again this year. And I'm really hoping I do. And then last summer, I had like just the best time in Mexico in a program called International Summer Opera Festival of Morelia. And it's in Morelia, Mexico. And this program, I got to sing the Countess in the Nozze di Figaro, and which was the longest role I've done. And I just remember sitting with one of my coaches, Mary Pinto, like looking at this like 500-page score, just knee deep in it. And I also like Mozart for me was really hard. I feel like I spent a whole year bombing auditions with Porgi Amor because everyone said I needed a Mozart, and I just didn't feel free in it. And I thought it was great for me to finally get over that fear and feel comfortable singing it. And I had so much fun. And that program as well, the opportunities to sing with, it's not a student orchestra, it's the professional orchestra of Morelia. And under our music director, Jorge Parodi, who's amazing. And so I couldn't recommend that program enough. And, then I've been lucky to finally book some, professional jobs, including Light Opera of New Jersey. And I have a few other things in the works right now, which I'm just like kind of in shock that within 4 years I was able to get to a professional level in opera. And when I made the switch, I had said to myself, I don't really care if I ever get paid to sing. This is what I love to do. Like I will study this for life because that's how much I love it. So getting to work professionally is really an honor, and I'm so grateful and for every opportunity to get up and work.
Well, keep putting it all out there. That's the type of dedication that this field requires.
Yeah,
It's such a challenge, and
yeah,
but it is so rewarding when you get on that stage and make that music come alive and make these amazing characters breathe life into them. I think I just love doing different operas with different people, and I think I've done Bohème like 25, 30 times, and every time I've done it, it's always different. It's always like a different location. It's a larger theater. It's a smaller theater. It's a traditional production. It's a modern production. But I just love the energy each singer breathes life into it. Slightly different on the high notes, slightly different on the phrasing, but in the end, that's what makes opera so special. We all bring ourselves to it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what this looks like when you bring it. Now you made the finals in some very important competitions.
Yeah.
I know most recently in Spain, was that right?
I was a finalist and I won a special award in the La Lenya competition in 2018. Um,
Well, that's
this
a unique competition because it's both musical theater and opera, right?
I mean, yeah, speaking of how stubborn I am and like resilience, I applied for that competition maybe 5 times before I got in. And I was so committed because I remember when I was 19, I saw a flyer at my college and I was like, oh my God, I could do that. Like I actually could sing all the things they wanted. They wanted contemporary musical theater, opera, Kurt Weill, and but it's really an acting competition and telling a whole story. And um, the year I got in was just really dreamy. I just remember I felt so accomplished that something that I really wanted, getting to sing on that stage. And then, believe it or not, and I'm, not ashamed to say it, I've applied 3 times since and didn't get it. I mean, that's just like how how this works. But I think that's important to share because I think people only see the glamorous side of what we do and don't realize, that we're putting ourselves out there, even for something that we were a winner in and maybe don't even get a chance to try again.
The musical career is a tough one. That's one part of
Yeah.
very important part of everyone's career is dealing with
Yes.
rejection and just getting used to like hearing no or not hearing anything at all, and then believing
Yeah.
in yourself regarding that. And always having you're always studying with teachers and coaches. And how important it is to have a team behind you.
Oh, it's like it's everything. You Every time I've had a new voice teacher, I've only had a few who've helped me since my path with opera, and there was definitely a year where I was like ping ponging through teachers. Um, it's everything. You have to devote yourself to what that teacher says, or otherwise you're never gonna do anything clearly. Like and I started studying with my current teacher, who's the most amazing woman, Jennifer Rowley. She's
She was a guest on Music Matters, and what a delightful guest she was.
Yeah, she's just the best. I met her actually when the Morelia program was online 2 summers ago. I was cast as Mimi, and I didn't get to do it in person, which
Oh,
stunk. But study with them online, and that's when I met Jen, and she really changed how I was singing, and it was really different. And some people said don't do it, and some people said too dark, too this, because I was getting away with such a musical theater sound for so long. And the reason I really switched was it I was having a lot of trouble with like fatigue after my lessons with other people when I wasn't really releasing. And the second I started studying with Jen, it was like so much bigger, so much warmer, and I didn't have fatigue, and I finally could sing coloratura, like and so I you just have to put those voices to the side that don't agree with what you're doing and decide. You have to commit to your teacher, um, and that's what I did, and the payoff's been huge, honestly. I mean, she's helped me so much in such a little amount of time, and she's also the first teacher I've worked with who has used all of her sort of personal network and resources to help her students because she's in the field right now, and she pushes us out there constantly. She brings agents to listen to us, casting directors. She's just like constantly pushing us out the nest, like go. And
That's so wonderful. Yeah, she's a very caring person. In addition to being a fantastic diva and a verity soprano, her story was fantastic too.
yeah,
She's like, I made my overnight success after doing it my whole life. Then all of a sudden, people read it as an overnight success. But we talked about the groundwork she laid out and her hard work, and she's a hard worker. You have to be.
she's one of the hardest workers I know. Yeah, absolutely. So inspiring.
I'm glad to hear that she encourages everybody and helps make some of those connections. It's so important because
Yeah.
it's really hard for young singers. There's a lot of young singers. It's hard to kind of find your way, and it really helps to have that model.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really inspiring. I mean, sometimes though, I'm like, I don't know how she does it all. I think she's kind of had superpowers. So
Well, sounds like you have a lot of that yourself.
yeah.
Tell us about your music school and what level of students do you teach, and what shows are you doing right now with the little ones?
Oh my goodness. So I started a voice studio, like a lot of singers, and it was called Singing with Molly. And I was doing that for a long time. And like I said, it started booking musical theater jobs, regional theater, a few years after school and everything. So I had my voice studio first. And when I started, I got up to like 30 students a week. It was getting a little bit unsustainable for me vocally. I'd leave town and the studio would just be on pause. So I decided after about 8 years of my private studio and keeping it pretty small to make it a school and bring on more teachers. And so I hired a lot of my friends and colleagues in the city who, gig around at different schools and take like one day of work at different studios. And it was terrifying to do because, they were my students, and to be like, okay, now we're a school, and, parents are like, I want to study with you. It was really hard. But we did it. And then we survived COVID. I mean, it's been such a journey. So now the school is called Lux Performing Arts. And I chose the name Lux because it means light in Latin. And I wanted spotlight on young singers. And
What's the website? We'll plug that for you, so you can check that out.
luxperformingarts.com.
LUX.com.
luxperformingarts.com. And we last summer, because I'm just a little bit crazy, I was like, we're going to produce 2 musicals. I've never produced one, but we're going to produce 2. Why not? And put all of our savings into producing Spring Awakening, where we got adults, from all over coming out for that. We had, kids from Boston Conservatory, NYU, Marymount Manhattan starring in the show. It was unbelievable. And all those college kids didn't get to do a show because of COVID. So they were like hungry for it. And we did Matilda, which was amazing. We had kids from our school and we had adults from Jersey City. We did the whole 3-hour thing. It was just totally crazy. It was so amazing. And so now we're trying to produce more musicals. We're doing Seussical Jr. And we're announcing this week that we're going to be doing 13 this summer, 13 the musical this summer, and Little Mermaid this summer.
Wow, that's ambitious. That's a lot of work.
We have a whole team that's helping me, but to be honest, the kids are ready for it. I didn't do musicals for a long time because I didn't want a competitive atmosphere. I really wanted the kids to feel like this is a place where everyone gets equal parts and feels like a non-competitive theater environment. I was really nervous to introduce musicals, but so far I've seen none of that. I don't know if these kids are different than the ones I grew up with, but they really support each other, and everyone takes their role. If I'm a monkey, I take it seriously. Even if I have one line, I take it seriously, and I love that. And because you are a star, even if you have one line, so.
It's an important lesson to learn, because sometimes you're going to be covering, sometimes you're going to be singing lead roles, sometimes you're going to be the tree, sometimes you're going to be the monkey.
Yeah.
And you have to take that and shine with it. That's always been the way of the theater.
Yeah, so I commend these kids, because I was so competitive at their age. That I just love it. I just love that they're here because they love it. Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful you can share that gift and that your joy of music with these young people, and I'm sure it's going to be very exciting. So luxperformingarts.com, check that out. And do you have any post Bohem? What do you have coming up? Any irons on the fire?
Oh my goodness. Well, I was
You can
in
speak in vague terms if you
uh,
must.
I was able to take a few auditions when I went to the Montserrat Caballé competition this fall, which was like my first kind of big international competition. And I didn't become a finalist or anything, but I was really proud of my work and um, proud to like, go to a different city and put myself out there, and took some professional auditions while I was there. And I do have something in the works in Barcelona, so I can't share too much, but I'm pretty excited. Yeah, there should be some fun announcements soon.
It's always fun working in other countries and making music with colleagues across the pond. It's one of my favorite experiences doing opera in Italy, but any country is always fun to go somewhere else and to
Yeah,
just see how other people live and be a part of another culture, and then to make music together and you see how we're all alike.
yeah, absolutely. And I actually, my husband's from Barcelona. He's Catalan,
Oh,
so it's great to have a place to go and stay there and with family. And I feel lucky that both of us have jobs that allow us to be flexible and travel. He can come see me perform and things like that. So I feel incredibly spoiled at the moment about that.
that's wonderful. I'm working on my Catalan as we speak. I'm doing a piece by Granados, Conte Estrella, and I'm like,
What?
it's in Catalan. I'm like, you got to be kidding! I've never done it before, and I'm loving the language. It's so beautiful. I hear the Portuguese and the French mixed together in this kind of unique mixture. It's really a cool language.
Oh my goodness, if you need any help, he's was a professional translator for a long time and obviously can help you with anything you need.
Well, that's good. I learned so much on this show. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys meet in Jersey City or in Europe?
Oh my, it's a scandalous story, but I was
Aha! We love
I
scandal on Music Matters.
happy to share, and I'm waiting for someone to approach me for a movie, about this. But I had a big birthday, and I was like, I haven't spent a penny on myself. Like, I have spent every penny I make on my singing. I deserve something fun. And so I went backpacking with my brother. He was going to Barcelona. He's a circus artist. So he was going there to do some
Really?
circus training. And so I went with him, and then was chatting with a few people on those apps and stuff, and met a very nice guy. And we ended up taking like a whirlwind trip around like Italy, Vienna together within that it was crazy, within that 7 days, and just left it at that. It was like a fun time. And then we've talked every day since. And it was all very romantic. And we had a COVID wedding. I mean, we got married March 8th, 18th. Yeah, 18th, 2020. Um, very nervous that we wouldn't see each other for a few years, and he had no status here. And so now we are happily married. I'm very happy we did that. I never thought
Oh,
I'd get eloped, but we did. And so we've been married like almost 2 years now, which is so crazy.
and he came this side of the Atlantic for you. That's beautiful.
He did. He's such a lucky charm. I mean, he came here and he, switched industries of what he was doing. He was translating. Now he's in software engineer. He's a software engineer, and got himself a job in New York City and is like living his dream doing that. I'm so proud of him.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
beautiful story, and I look forward to meeting him in the La Boheme production. I'm sure he'll be there.
Yes, he will.
So it's so exciting. I love these real life Bohemian stories, or even that's what to me what makes Bohème such a special. It's about young people. It's about love, loss, and we can relate to all those characters.
Yeah.
Do you personally relate more to Mimi or Musetta?
Mm. So funny you say that, because I was like, I should take this opportunity to learn Musetta, because I, I definitely relate to the like over dramaticness of Musetta. I am so that. I hate to admit it, but my husband, he can, I'm very dramatic if, sometimes.
Never a soprano, dramatic, never.
But on the other hand, I am, I've been thinking so much about like, how does someone say I love you to someone the day they meet? But that really, I mean, we didn't say I love you the first day we met, but Didoc and I had kind of a whirlwind romance. And it's probably possible in someone's world, that you would meet someone and do that. And so I do bring a lot of that part of my relationship into the role. And I'm just like so excited to have fun with that. Like, who would say this, and why would I say this kind of grand thing right now? And is it playful? Are we playing pretend like married, and then we, you know what I mean? Because people do that too, just kind of like have a whirlwind fun night with somebody, which is how Mimi meets Rodolfo. And so
I love opera. Two arias and a duet, and they're in love, man. That's like bang. Can bring on Act Two.
I know, I know. So I mean, what world do we live in that happens, or that need to be close to someone? And oh God, the Act Three quartet is just like some of my favorite poetry. I mean, I have to get used to the English, but in Italian, it's just like, can the winter last forever? Because we're gonna stay together for this winter. I just like, I love it so much.
Truly heartbreaking, and to watch them break up, then the other couple get back together again, and that's kind of, we can all relate because it's people we know. It's kind of people, especially within the artistic community. It's so it's so true to life, and it remains true to life.
Yeah.
And I say, even though the story was written in 1830, and specifically the Bourget play, or the Bourget book, was written right after the French Revolution, when the aristocracy stopped supporting music, and it was the bourgeoisie that were supporting music. You even see that kind of, and then the artists kind of rebelled and have this own unique. That was the start of this bohème culture. We still have it today very clearly. You go to New York City, you look at a bunch of opera singers or artists living together. I see it all the time. I know so many people.
Yeah, I agree completely. I feel like the simplicity of like Puccini's writing, that you can feel the what's not being said. I forget what that's called, but like the undertone or the inner monologue of what's happening is so clear, and he is such a smart writer in that way. So I love that.
His sentimentalism, his like use of the light. What makes him so easy, we always think of him being so Italian, and of course he was Italian, but he also include, what makes him so interesting was the Italian audience of his time found him very cosmopolitan and not Italian enough. So he would mix in a little Wagner, and he'd mix in a little Debussy in his orchestration. So it's that combination of international elements makes him so fascinating to me, because you have the light motifs, or these returning motifs, which that's what breaks your heart, is like the theme when it comes back as she's dying. Yeah, that's what grabs you and says, "Oh my God," because you remember the happy moments, and then the transpose when she's sad, and it's just, he's the best.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen our new libretto, but I'm excited to see what happens in Act Four, because I'm not quite sure. I think I don't want to give it away, but I think I'm alone, and I think that's terrifying, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. It's heart-wrenching. Yeah,
it's going to be, I'm not going to give anything away too much, but it's a lot of her inner mind thinking, and a lot of the we're using some interesting projections that it's going to be gorgeous, done by Jacob Maximilian Barron, who's brilliant. I've worked with him before. And it's going to be very integrated, and it's going to be really interesting and psychological. And, the music is so powerful. I think that's what makes it so interesting to me, is that it's so good. What makes any classical music, like, really important is the fact that it's universal, not just set in one time. We put ourselves on it in each time period. Each singer that sings it changes it a little bit, because we bring ourselves to it. And I can't wait to see what this is going to be. This is a first for the Light Opera of New Jersey. They've never done bohème before.
Wow.
And I'm excited, because this is one of my favorite operas, and it's my first fully staged production as executive director, and I can't wait to kind of bring this new vision of what opera can be.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. Congrats.
And we're doing In the Heights after this, so it's totally different.
I love that. I saw your advertisement, so I'm going to have to share that with some, like, your performers who might be in the area.
It's a little bit different. If you're going out for La Boheme, you're probably not going to go for In the Heights, but I really like In the Heights. I think it's a heck of a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I love In the Heights too. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever get cast in it, but I love it.
Some shows, they're more about like just being there, just like enjoying the music. But I think that the great theater is great theater, whether it's musical theater, whether it's opera. I've always loved musical theater, and I'm really excited to watch them both come together. And this one first, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's amazing. It feels really full circle for me on a personal level to be back at Light Opera and to walk into that audition and feel embraced for who I am now felt was like a really special moment for me. Even if I didn't get it, I was just like, oh my God, I went in there and shared who I am now with people who knew me in a different way. And I actually haven't seen most of the boards since I sang Druid. And so
What
I,
year was the Druid?
oh my goodness, like 2016?
Okay, a
I
few
think
years
so.
ago.
20, it was 2017. Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's beautiful to come back as a kind of a different place in your life, and
yeah.
yeah, you owned that audition. That was a beautiful audition, and
Thank you.
there were a lot of very fine singers, and you really worked hard, and it was very obvious to all of us.
Oh, thank you so much. You
And
know,
those of you who knew you the most were like jaw dropped. They're like, "What are we hearing?"
what?
Well, they were so. It's totally a different way of singing. I mean,
Yeah.
to sing Italianate style of opera and just it's just a different planet.
Yes. Yeah. But I feel very supported in that room. And I didn't feel like, someone saying, oh, I don't think she can do it. And I felt really confident. And it's such a supporting, as you know, amazing community, Light Opera of New Jersey.
It's one of my favorite things is to watch people grow into repertoire. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been blessed to have some of the finest singers when they before right at the beginning when they're getting their sea legs and making that journey up. And that to me is so exciting.
Wow.
I've worked with both sides of the equation. I've worked with people who are, experienced performers towards the end of their. I've worked with really older superstars who are almost on the way down. But it's really exciting to work with people who are on the way up like yourself. And I wish you nothing but continued success.
I appreciate it. I think just my attitude of like really loving what I'm doing, and not that I don't have expectations, but I enjoy the journey of it a lot. I enjoy studying a lot. Like I've probably taken I spend every penny I make on voice lessons. Like it's part of my rent. It's like rent, voice lessons as a lot of singers do. And even in musical theater that was who I was. I just love the journey of it. I love auditioning. I feel grateful to get up and do an audition. So I built that attitude in musical theater. I was used to getting up at 4 in the morning, waiting outside, putting my name on a list, singing at like 2 o'clock for 30 seconds. Getting to sing opera is like it's like luxurious. I mean, I know people are upset about the fees and things like that for auditions, but getting to have like a time slot in the future and I can like sleep in and like, I mean, and
I'm
I get
always
10
amazed
whole
by the
minutes.
differences in the audition process. I come from
Yeah.
the opera background for the last 25 years, and I'm like working on learning more and more about musical theater. It's such a different atmosphere. It's a different performance practice and a different work environment. It's just fascinating to me how they're similar but then so different at the same time.
Yeah, and I guess though the attitude I built there was like that this is a long game, and I thought of it like a board game. Like I always have the picture of Candyland in my head. I don't know why.
Love
I
that
don't
game.
I don't even think I owned Candyland growing up, but I see the board and it's like my audition is just one piece on it. And so if people look at that audition and bank everything on that, that's crazy. Like, okay, maybe I didn't book Light Opera of New Jersey, but Jason Tramm heard me and Andrea heard me and like all these people heard me. And I've thought of every audition that way, that it's an opportunity to network and to meet people. And so many jobs, like my first musical theater job after Light Opera, my regional theater job, I sang for that director 6 times before he cast
Wow.
me. But like that's how much time it took to like weed through the like thousands of sopranos in New York. I mean, it's tough out there, and there's a lot of talent and a lot of and as you know, musical theater is so much about typecasting. So I was trying so hard and when I was younger to like I'm 5'10" and I was trying to be 5'6" because I was like 5'10's too tall, and I was trying to be petite, and I'm just like not a petite person. And the second I put on like 4-inch heels and wore like something kind of like cutesy and really owned what I look like, I started working. And it wasn't the ingenue, it wasn't the lead. My first gig was Babette in Beauty and the Beast, which was so fun. But it was, it's so much about that in musical theater and owning owning who you are 1,000%, even if it's the parts of you that you are or were self-conscious about. And when someone was like, "Oh, you can sing the leads in opera at your height, you're totally right for that." And I was like, "What? I don't have to, I can play a lead role right now."
Well, it's good on the opera stage, and you also we might have to buy platform heels for the tenor, but that's always the case in the operas. You always see that happening.
I know him. I think we're okay. I think we're
Oh,
okay.
good. Okay. I'm just thinking, but
Yeah.
I've done the famous story about Franco Corelli and Jerome Hines.
Oh
Is
my goodness.
Franco Corelli was my mentor, was his coach and pianist for many, many years, and he conducted him a lot. So he told me this story that Franco Corelli was 6'1", and he came out on the stage, and Jerome Hines was like 6'5". Franco Corelli never liked being the shortest, so he wore platform heels. And
Wow.
apparently Jerome Hines' wife heard that and had him wear platform heels. So he comes out at 6'3", 6'4", and Jerome comes 6'7".
That is a tall group of men. Wow.
But yeah, I love the opera stories. They're great.
Yeah, it's just cool. I feel like, especially with, I felt like musical theater was so much about everyone could sing to the level that was like good enough to get the part, right? So then it was so much based upon how you look, your personality. Can you like get it in that audition in 30 seconds? And I just felt like in opera, what was so cool was it felt like the ball was so much more in my court, because I get that 10 minutes to really show who I am, like in a way that felt more authentic to me. And I know that's not, a lot of people don't feel that. And I get that. And for a long time, I thought I was crazy. I was like, yeah, like, I don't know why. I just want to sing opera. But I feel so much more like I have more control of my art, and I'm not trying to play like a game so much, like hit all the boxes for, yeah.
So we have a question from the audience. This is from Jeanette, and she asks, who are your 3 favorite Broadway singers, and who are your 3 favorite opera singers? And I always say this is questions like this are like me saying which of my 4 children is my favorite. But give us 3 quickly.
Yeah.
Who you would come up with?
Well, I feel like Kelly O'Hara taught me how to sing. I mean, I sang along to her in Light in the Piazza, which is probably why I was straight toning all my opera. But I love Kelly O'Hara, and she's obviously an example of opera singer to musical theater. I love Victoria Clark, who's sort of on the same lines of Kelly O'Hara, and I hope one day, if my opera career is a flop, I can go play all the fairy godmothers like Victoria Clark. That's sort of my backup plan. Who's another singer I like? I mean, I love so many. Maybe Brian Stokes Mitchell.
Oh, he's wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, his Man of La Mancha is just so stunning. I like so many Broadway singers. I don't know how I can decide that. For opera, I found a recording for Met on Demand of Rosa Poncel's Traviata, which I hadn't come across before, and I'm loving that. Obviously, she's like one of the best singers ever.
She made her debut, I think, at 17 at the Met.
I find all of that amazing. When you read these books and you're
Different
like,
time for sure, but what?
And the variety of repertoire they were singing too, they weren't put in such strong boxes, I love Patricia Racette. I feel like her performing, like, I feel like even if you listen to her, you can hear the emotions of what she's doing. And I just love the role she's done. I really look up to her career. I hope to work with her one day.
Put that on the list.
Oh, and then probably Montserrat Caballé.
The floatiest of all great, her pianissimi are like legendary.
That's exactly it. I mean, we all you can learn something listening to 8 bars of her. Anything she sings, anything. But I do have to say though, I probably my favorite like larger voice is Leontine Price. Like I just love the warmth that she brings into everything she sings. I love that. I love that open warmth she has.
One thing I've learned about opera singers in my travels over the years is that everyone's unique and everyone's got their own pathway forward. The more, there's people say this is the way to do it, but there's never been one way to do it. Everyone's so different. We mentioned Jennifer Rowley. She's had a totally unique path, and every one of those singers you mentioned, the greats, they all had their own unique path, and I think that's what's so special about it. You have to find your own way.
Yeah. I mean, I think for a long time I was really overwhelmed by it. I always had like one toe in, I was like, I did a program like when I was really young, and I sang First Lady, and I remember just freaking out that I was about to go on a stage and sing with an orchestra with no mic. And I hadn't done any of those things before, and I was just like, or in German for that matter, like I was like freaking out. And I think that I always had such an interest, but I was too scared to take the leap. And I think, like I said before, like you just have to believe in yourself to do it. Like, I know that's maybe cheesy advice, but it's
Not
the same.
at all. It's profound advice, and it's accessible to any students who are listening or anyone who's listening, no matter what your studies are, what your discipline is. That kind of confidence is necessary to have a career in the arts. And thank you so much for sharing that.
And it was the same thing that happened to me in musical theater. Like the second I started owning every inch of me and like not trying to hide, not trying to be someone else, that's when I started booking work professionally in musical theater too. Yeah.
Well, the first of many. Make sure to go see this wonderful soprano at the Light Opera of New Jersey's La Boheme performances, the last 2 weekends of March, and in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, at the brand new Fellowship Theater, Fellowship Cultural Arts Center. And you can check that out at www.lightoperaofnewjersey.com.
Yes.
.org, excuse me. But make sure you check it out. Where can we go to find out more about you?
Well, I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I believe my name there is at Molly S. Dunn, which, if you say out loud, is Molly's Dunn, and I didn't mean it like that. It's just that's actually my name, Molly Sarah Dunn. And also molly-dunn.com is my website. I'm also pretty active on Facebook, Molly Dunn Soprano. So I'd love to see any new friends. Please say hi to me on any of those platforms.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Music Matters, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you, Jason. I'll see you in 1.5 weeks.
Can't wait to that first read. It's my favorite rehearsal in the world.
Yes, me too.
Thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. Thank you so much for joining our community, and remember, keep music alive.